A very good evening and welcome to the news tonight, where we get you the day's top stories. I'm Tracy Shilchi and here are the headlines. Delay in counting after polling concludes for the Rajya Sabha elections in Gujarat. Suspense over the fate of Congress leader Ahmed Patel as party moves to get the vote of two rebels rejected. Rajya Sabha proceedings are adjourned amid opposition claims that two types of 500 rupee notes were being printed. Government refutes the allegations, says opposition is raising frivolous issues and obstructing proceedings in the House. And Lok Sabha is also adjourned amid uproar by Congress members over attack on Party Vice President Rahul Gandhi during his Gujarat visit. Party members demand action against all accused involved in the attack. But first, our top story this evening. Counting of votes has been delayed in the Rajya Sabha election for the 3 seats in Gujarat. The Congress has asked the Election Commission to reject the votes of 2 of its rebels, while the BJP has protested and demanded that counting begin at once. The delay has kept in suspense the fate of senior Congress leader Ahmed Patel, who is trying to get himself re-elected to the upper house. The Congress has asked the Election Commission to invalidate the vote of 2 of its legislators who, after showing their ballot papers to the Congress election agent, also showed the BJP's agent how they had voted. Senior BJP leaders, including several union ministers, also approached the Election Commission to counter the objections of the Congress. Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad said that with defeat staring the Congress in their face, making desperate attempts to change the result. The BJP has fielded its party president Amit Shah, Union Minister Smriti Irani, who are both certain to win 2 seats. Ahmed Patel is vying for the 3rd seat, along with Balwant Singh Rajput of the BJP, who of course joined just a few days back, a former Congress leader. The BJP has 122 MLAs in an assembly that has 176 members. Ahmed Patel, who was counting on the support of 44 Congress MLAs, is faced with the prospect of cross-voting. His candidature suffered a huge blow, with the NCP stating yesterday that both its MLAs will vote for the BJP candidate. We'll continue tracking developments on that front and get you the latest updates as we get them. Meanwhile, Rajya Sabha proceedings were washed away on Tuesday as the opposition alleged that 2 types of 500 rupee notes were being printed. The Congress called it the century's biggest scam, and the government refuted the allegations, slamming the opposition for raising frivolous issues and obstructing the proceedings of the House.
As the House met, Congress member Kapil Sibal alleged that the Reserve Bank of India was printing 2 types of Rs 500 currency notes. Leader of opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad then alleged that demonetization was the biggest scam of this century.
Reserve Bank of India 2 किस्म के नोट छपती है, छपाती है, different size के, different size के, different design के, different features के.
Sir, how is the point of order? Yeah, that is the correct point. How it can be the point of order? You have to follow the rule. This is a misuse of order.
सदन के पटल पे रखे हैं.
Now, Kapil Sibal ji, bring a substantive motion.
Authenticate किया है मैंने.
अच्छा ठीक है,
Authenticate किया है. सदन के पटल पे रखे हैं. और दोनों नोट के साइज डिफरेंट है.
इस सेंचुरी का सबसे बड़ा स्कैम है. ये इस सेंचुरी का सबसे बड़ा स्कैम है कि गवर्नमेंट ही 2 किस्म के नोट छापती है.
Opposition leaders like TMC's Derek O'Brien, JDU's Sharad Yadav and Samajwadi Party's Naresh Agarwal also joined ranks with the Congress over the issue.
Mr. Kapil Sibal has raised an issue. It's a serious issue and the rule is 258. Please look at 258. No, yes. So give him a chance to raise 258. Yeah. Look at the notes. So you look at the notes. Reserve Bank note छापे, 2 तरह के नोट नहीं छप सकते. ये कैसे छपे, सरकार को जवाब देना पड़ेगा. ये साइन मैं दे सकता हूँ आपके सामने, साइन करके दे सकता हूँ.
लग रहा है देश में 2 तरीके के नोट चल रहे हैं. ये बहुत गंभीर मामला है और चूंकि सरकार इसका जवाब नहीं दे रही, हटवाता है समाजवादी पार्टी सदन से वॉकआउट करती है।
The Samajwadi Party staged a walkout from the House over the issue. Rejecting all claims, the government accused the Congress of spreading rumours in the country and slammed it for disrupting House proceedings.
There are rules under which you give notice. You start raising issues with regard to the currency of the country in this manner, and such irresponsible statements are made. There is a misuse of 0 hour going on, and it should not be permitted at all.
जो देश में अफवाह फैलाने का काम कर रहे हैं, वो भ्रष्टाचारी, वो घोटालेबाज जो इससे हताश हुए हैं, डिमोनेटाइजेशन से किनारे पड़ गए हैं, उनको कहीं न कहीं इस तरह की चीजों से उनको मदद मिलेगी। इसलिए
As the Congress trooped into the well of the House, 0 hour and question hour could not be taken up. Even in the post-lunch session, there were little signs of any respite. As the Congress continued to protest, the chair adjourned the House till Wednesday. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the Rajya Sabha referred the Motor Vehicle Amendment Bill 2017 to a select committee on Tuesday. The committee consists of 24 members. The panel has been instructed to present the report to Rajya Sabha by the first day of the next session without extension of time.
The Motor Vehicles Amendment Bill 2017, which aims to usher in far-reaching reforms in the transport sector, has been referred to the Select Committee of Rajya Sabha. A motion to refer the bill to the committee was moved by MOS for Road Transport and Highways Mansukh Mandavia.
Sir, with your permission, I move the following motions. That the Motor Vehicle Amendment Bill 2017 to amend the Motor Vehicle Act 1988 to address issues such as road safety, passenger mobilities, transport reforms, citizen facilitations, and reduction of corruption in transport sector, as passed by the Lok Sabha, be referred to a select committee of the Rajya Sabha.
The motion to refer it to a select committee was adopted by voice vote. The bill was passed by Lok Sabha in April this year.
With instructions to report to the Rajya Sabha by the first day of next session without extension of time. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Motion is adopted.
The Motor Vehicles Bill was proposed to replace Motor Vehicles Act 1988 to usher stricter rules and penalties for traffic rules violations. The Motor Vehicles Amendment Bill proposes to levy heavy fines for overspeeding, driving without wearing a seat belt, making Aadhaar mandatory for vehicle registration, and regulation of cab aggregators. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, Lok Sabha was adjourned for the day after an hour and 20 minutes of proceedings today. This after the Congress raised the issue of attack on Rahul Gandhi's convoy in Gujarat last week, which led to war of words between the Congress and the BJP. While the Congress alleged that Rahul Gandhi could have been seriously hurt in the attack, Home Minister Rajnath Singh said that Gandhi has been flouting the SPG cover on a number of occasions.
Lok Sabha was adjourned until Wednesday after the Congress raised the issue of recent attack on Rahul Gandhi's convoy. As soon as Lok Sabha met for the day, Congress members entered the well saying Rahul Gandhi could have been seriously harmed.
कांग्रेस उपाध्यक्ष श्री राहुल गांधी जी हमारे राष्ट्रीय नेता हैं। उन्होंने बाढ़ से बुरी तरह प्रभावित क्षेत्रों का दौरा करने के लिए गुजरात बनासकांठा पहुंचे थे। उन पर जानलेवा हमला हुआ, उनके ऊपर पत्थर फेंके गए। इस हमले में राहुल गांधी जी बाल-बाल बचे, लेकिन उनकी गाड़ी के शीशे भी टूट गए।
अगर पीछे सीट में गिरने के बजाय अगर आगे गिर जाती तो उनकी जान चले जाती थी।
A war of words broke out in the House after Mallikarjuna Kharge accused BJP workers for acting as terrorists for pelting stones, a comment which BJP demanded to be expunged.
मैंने इसी सदन में बीजेपी के बहुत से बड़े-बड़े नेता और सरकार के ओर से भी एक वक्तव्य आया था कि जम्मू कश्मीर में जो पथरावबाजी हो रहे थे वो टेररिस्ट कर रहे हैं, ये हम सब मानते हैं। लेकिन गुजरात में कौन से टेररिस्ट आए, वो कौन से थे, मैं वो पूछना चाहता हूँ। क्या जम्मू कश्मीर से टेररिस्ट आए थे? क्या गुजरात में बीजेपी के कार्यकर्ता टेररिस्ट बन के इनकी जान लेना चाहते थे?
बड़ा अपमानजनक बात किया है, उसको पूरा एक्सपंज करना चाहिए। अगर कुछ भी गलत है तो
गुजरात के जनता को, गुजरात के कार्यकर्ताओं को कश्मीर के
Responding to Kharge's allegation, Home Minister Rajnath Singh said that the Congress Vice President has violated the security protocol on several occasions in India and abroad. Singh said in the last 2 years, Rahul Gandhi travelled abroad on 6 occasions for 72 days without taking any SPG security along. Rajnath also rejected the claim that Rahul was not provided adequate security during the Gujarat visit.
और पिछले 2 वर्षों में श्री गांधी 6 विदेशी दौरों में 72 दिन बाहर रहे हैं। इन 72 दिनों की अवधि में एसपीजी कवर उनके साथ नहीं रखा गया है। अध्यक्ष महोदय, देश जानना चाहेगा, सदन जानना चाहेगा कि विदेश में कहां गए, क्यों नहीं उन्होंने एसपीजी कवर लिया। एसपीजी कवर तो इसीलिए मिला हुआ था, वो चाहे देश में रहें अथवा विदेश में रहें, बराबर एसपीजी कवर उनके साथ रहेगा। लेकिन जानबूझकर एसपीजी कवर को इसी देश में छोड़ देते हैं और वह विदेशों की यात्रा करते हैं।
Singh's sharp attack highlighted Gandhi's trips abroad, an issue which the BJP has often highlighted. His remarks led Congress members to troop into the well with placards. Rahul and party president Sonia Gandhi were not present in the house. Last week, a stone was hurled at Rahul Gandhi's car during his visit to the flood-affected areas in Gujarat's Banaskantha district. The Congress leadership blamed the BJP for the attack, while the BJP called it a political stunt ahead of the assembly elections in the state. Pranav Goswami's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Transport, Tourism and Culture today questioned various stakeholders over the disinvestment of Air India and Pawan Hans. The Standing Committee, headed by Trinamool Congress MP Mukul Roy, met officials from the Civil Aviation Ministry and Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, including Civil Aviation Secretary R.N. Chaube, Air India CMD Ashwani Lohani and Pawan Hans CMD BP Sharma. While some committee members raised concerns over job security and debt burden at the airline, the members were also informed that the process of disinvestment in both Air India and Pawan Hans have already started. The Aviation Secretary also informed the panel about the CBI investigation that is on in the merger of Air India and Indian Airlines. National aviation carrier Air India has a debt burden of more than 52,000 crores, and the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs gave its in-principle approval for considering strategic disinvestment of the airline in June. Now, the latest on the Chandigarh stalking case that has once again brought to light the shoddy state of women's safety in the country. 4 days after being stalked and harassed on the streets of Chandigarh, Varnika Kundu is finally hoping for justice as the police have recovered CCTV footage that substantiates her statement. Here are the details. 4 days after Chandigarh DJ Varnika Kundu went through a horrific midnight ordeal on the streets of the city, evidence has emerged confirming her account of being chased and terrorized by Haryana BJP chief Subhash Barala's son and a friend. Chandigarh police has retrieved footage of 5 CCTV cameras en route showing a white SUV racing behind Varnika Kundu's black car. On Friday night, Varnika Kundu had accused 23-year-old Vikas Barala and his friend of stalking and attempting to kidnap her, after which Vikas and his friend Ashish Kumar were arrested but let off within hours on bail.
This is a very positive development that we have found the footage. I already knew what my case was, but this helped strengthen my case in the eyes of the law. And the police have, definitely done something positive. I'm so overwhelmed with the support. I mean, every time I think about it, I get a little choked. There is unending support from everywhere.
While women's activists and those supporting Varnika allege that the police is moving slowly in the probe, police has rejected claims that it is acting under pressure. The BJP too has rubbished all allegations of a cover-up and said that action will be taken against culprits.
We don't interfere into the working of the police, but police must strongly act as per the need of the situation. But we are not here to guide the police how to behave, how to conduct the inquiry and all.
पुलिस की बहुत सराहना की है मिस्टर कुंडू ने और उनकी बेटी ने भी, दोनों ने, कि पुलिस ने बहुत प्रॉम्प्ट एक्शन लिया and they are very thankful कि वो बच्ची बच गई और घर पर है, and they are very sure, they are confident Chandigarh police will do its job.
A day after he alleged that police is trying to dilute the matter, Punjab Chief Minister has once again accused the BJP of a cover-up.
CCTV कैमरास को टैंपर किया, उनके बचाने की कोशिश हो रही है. जो बात हुई है, ये गलत बात हुई है और इसकी किसी को प्रोटेक्शन नहीं करनी चाहिए।
As Varnika continues her fight, support for her is growing. Scores of people protested in Rohtak demanding justice. Delhi's Aam Aadmi Party MLAs too wore badges saying, "I stand with Varnika."
उनके जो पिताजी हैं, जब तक केस चलता है उनको इस्तीफा देना चाहिए ताकि वो इस केस को किसी भी तरह से प्रभावित न कर सकें। ये हमारी मांग है और बाकी हम लोग सब इस परिवार के साथ हैं, इस लड़की के साथ हैं। जैसा भी वो चाहेंगे हम लोग हमेशा उनके साथ खड़े होने के लिए तैयार हैं।
The police is also accused of not adding the non-bailable kidnapping charge in the FIR. However, this CCTV footage may well be the much-needed breakthrough for the police to nab the culprits. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. The Supreme Court has issued a notice to Centre on Special Status Jammu and Kashmir seeking a reply in 4 weeks. The notice has been sent by a bench headed by Chief Justice J.S. Khehar. The Apex Court was seeking response on a plea against the Delhi High Court order which had rejected a petition challenging validity of Article 370 of the Constitution. The petitioner, Kumari Vijayalakshmi Jha, had claimed that Article 370 was a temporary provision that had lapsed with the dissolution of the state's Constituent Assembly in 1957. The petition urged that the separate constitution for Jammu and Kashmir be declared illegal. The Delhi High Court had on the 11th of April rejected the plea as the Supreme Court had already dismissed a petition on the issue. And here's a look at more national news updates in Nationwide. Nearly 50 Indian fishermen were arrested today by the Sri Lankan Navy for allegedly poaching in the country's territorial waters. Reports say they've been accused of indulging in potten trawling, which is outlawed in Sri Lanka. The fishermen would be handed over to the Fisheries Inspection Office in Jaffna for further action. A Delhi court today fixed 23rd of August for framing charges against Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and his deputy Manish Sisodia in a criminal defamation complaint. The Metropolitan Magistrate Pranjal Aneja, who was scheduled to frame charges today, was on leave. Kejriwal and Sisodia also sought exemption from appearance on the ground that they have to attend the 4-day monsoon session of Delhi Assembly, which commenced today. Supreme Court has dismissed a plea seeking framing of a national yoga policy and making the practice compulsory for students of classes 1 to 8 across the country. The Apex Court also said that it is for the government to take a decision on such issues. With a quick break here, up next we'll get you the top international stories.
The story we thought we knew. The story of magnificence. The story of bloody battles. Of those who ruled and those who left their footprints. The story charting the course of our past. Talking History on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. International news. And Kenya went to polls on Tuesday to elect its new president, and this ends the months-long campaign dominated by concerns of vote rigging, and also fears that the country will be plunged into violence once the winner is announced. Leaders of two of the main ethnic groups, Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, are pitted against each other, perhaps for the final time. The key concern this time is whether Kenya would echo its 2013 election, which was a peaceful affair, or the 2007 election, which led to violence fueled by ethnic divisions and killed more than 1,000 people.
Long queues were seen outside polling stations across Kenya on Tuesday as millions cast their votes to elect their new president. From first-time voters to those bent with age, thousands descended upon polling stations early morning to cast their ballots under heavy security. Nearly 2 lakh police and security personnel, including wildlife rangers, were deployed amid fears of a communal violence following the announcement of results. The tightly contested clash pits President Uhuru Kenyatta against his longtime rival Raila Odinga. While Kenyatta, the son of Kenya's founding president, is seeking a second and final term in office, it's also Odinga's last bid for the presidency. Casting his ballot, the incumbent president said the loser of the election should concede defeat.
My competitors, as I have always said, in the event that they lose, let us accept the will of the people. I am willing myself to accept the will of the people, so to them too. Accept the will of the people, let us come together, let us pull this country together, and let us move forward as one nation, because that's the only way that we can achieve our joint vision for this country.
Opposition leader Raila Odinga, a 72-year-old former political prisoner and son of Kenya's first vice president, called on supporters to congregate at the Uhuru Park for the results. For the first time in Kenya's history, prisoners were also allowed to cast their ballot.
It is the first time that Kenyan prisoners are voting, and this is a very good thing that we really appreciate. It was so smooth and very fast. We really appreciate for that.
It is a great day for Kenya, I can say, because we have been given the opportunity to come and exercise our democratic right of voting in the people we want.
Former U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, who's heading the U.S. Election Observer Mission in Kenya, said voters in the country were taking the election very seriously.
It's too early for us to draw any kinds of conclusions, so we're not. But obviously, given what's happened in the past and given the stakes for the future, this is a very, very important election, and clearly the citizens of Kenya are taking it very, very seriously.
Former U.S. President Barack Obama, whose father was born in Kenya, led a chorus of international calls on the eve of the vote for a peaceful election. Observers see the election as the last showdown of a dynastic rivalry between the families of Kenyatta and Odinga that has lasted more than half a century. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
At least one person has been reported dead and more than 30 injured in a blast in Pakistan's city. The incident took place at Sagiam Bridge near Lahore's Band Road, where a fruit-laden truck was parked. The injured, including women and children, were rushed to nearby hospitals for treatment. According to the report, the truck had explosives concealed in the fruit crates stacked inside. Several vehicles in the area have also been damaged due to the intensity of the explosion.
तकरीबन 5 फुट गहरा खड्डा है। प्राइवेट ये पार्किंग स्टैंड है जहाँ पर ट्रक्स खड़े होते हैं। उनमें से जो अंदर जाहिर हो रहा है एक ट्रक के अंदर एक्सप्लोसिव था जो एक्सप्लोड हुआ है।
And now let's get you some more updates from across the world in Global Buzz. South Korea's foreign ministry summoned Japanese envoy Koichi Mizoshima and lodged objections after Tokyo repeated its claim on disputed islands in its defense white paper. The remote islands called Dokdo in Korean and Takeshima in Japan are controlled by South Korea and have been the focus of a long-standing dispute between the two countries. Saudi Arabia will allow foreign companies to own engineering services companies in full without requiring them to partner with a Saudi-owned firm. But the foreign company will need to have existed for at least 10 years to qualify. It would also need to be multinational with operations in at least 4 countries. The move is aimed to liberalize Saudi's business regulations to attract more investors and diversify its economy away from oil. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi and Afghanistan's President Ashraf Ghani have agreed to work together on countering the menace of terrorism and also meet the challenge of providing energy in the region. According to reports, Prime Minister Abbasi said that he will work with Afghanistan for security and stability in the region and added that terrorism was a common enemy. Britain's most senior judge has said that the government needs to spell out how British courts should interpret rulings from the European Court of Justice after Brexit. Currently, Britain must abide by the ECJ judgments, but Prime Minister Theresa May's government said that Britain will leave its jurisdiction after Brexit. However, Brexit supporters say that the ECJ should have no say at all over British matters and that the vote to leave the EU was partly about restoring legislative sovereignty. And finally, let's give you some updates from the world of sports in Sports Beat. India finished the Asian Junior Boxing Championships in Philippines with 2 silver and 6 bronze medals. Satyendra Rawat and Mohit Khatana won the silver medals. Satyendra lost to Uzbekistan's Almatov Shokruk in the 80+ kilogram category, while Mohit went down to Kazakhstan's Togambe Sadnedik in the 80 kilogram category. Ankit Narwal, Bhavesh Kitimani, Siddharth Malik, Vinit Dahiya, Akshay Sivach and Aman Shehrawat claimed bronze medals in their respective weight categories. In the World Athletics Championships, Indian runner Nirmala Sharan failed to qualify for the women's 400 meters final at London. Nirmala could not make it to the final 9 after she finished 7th in the semi-finals heats with a timing of 53.07 seconds. After 4 days of the championships, the United States leads the medals tally, with Kenya 2nd and Ethiopia 3rd. Omar McLeod brought the smiles back to Jamaican sprinting as he won the 110 meters hurdles title at the World Athletics Championships. McLeod dominated the race, winning in 13.04 seconds, a meter clear of the defending champion Sergei Shibenkov. Kenya's Faith Kipyegon then added the world title to her bag as she won the women's 1500 meters final. Kipyegon ran stride for stride with Sifan Hassan until Hassan faded in the closing stages, while the Kenyan stayed strong to cross the line in 4 minutes, 2.59 seconds. And with that, we've raced through the news tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.